A new day and a new spoiler, or in this case, a double feature because we actually got two. The first of which is the updated Moku's Embrace. Now, Moku's Embrace is a very old item, so old that I can't really remember when it was added. And it was unfortunately a bit problematic. The idea behind Moku's Embrace is you give enemies a chance to ignite you, and you give yourself bonuses while ignited. This synergized very well with the unique jewel Hot-Footed. Unfortunately, the big downside of Moku's Embrace was, generally enemies have to hit you with fire damage to be able to ignite you. So even with something like Fizz taken as fire, unless you're also going to do Cold taken as fire, Lightning taken as fire, and Chaos taken as fire, there's a chance the enemy hitting you won't be able to ignite you. Which is why the direction GGG took with the update is really awesome, as it makes it far easier for enemies to ignite you and plays into the archetype of self-ignite. I do think that archetype is a bit problematic for reasons I'll get into later, but I like the idea and there's a lot of potential here for future builds, especially with a couple new items or effects. The new Moku's Embrace loses the fire damage, which honestly wasn't all that impactful, has probably 30 to 40% cold res. I don't know if it's 30 to 40% attack and cast speed or 25 to 35, a little hard to tell from the ranges here, but with Catalyst you're going over 40% either way, potentially as high as 48. And most importantly, all damage from hits can ignite you. What this means is, if an enemy hits you, they have a 25% chance, or potentially more if you use other items, to inflict an ignite on you. And since you get that juicy attack speed bonus, you're definitely going to want them to do that. It also means, because all damage can ignite you, that if you damage yourself, be it with Fizz, Fire, or even Chaos from Forbidden Rite, you will also have a chance to ignite yourself. So the new Moku's Embrace is incredibly good for self-ignite builds. The reason that I say this is a somewhat problematic archetype though, is it has pretty limited support. There are a few items and a few skills that will synergize with this setup. The Fulcrum Unique Staff, for example, or something like Anomalous Kinetic Bolt to try to double dip on the attack and cast speed. However, there are also some big downsides to igniting yourself. Primarily, you give up ailment immunity. Sure, you can get unaffected by Ignite, and maybe you could get immune to shock, immune to chill. Unfortunately, you're gonna have to deal with alt ailments, being Sap, Brittle, and Scorch, which will make Simulacrum, Delirium, or Altars quite a bit more dangerous. This certainly isn't insurmountable, but it is something to be considered if you're trying to play the build. The other problem to consider is there just isn't that much synergy. So it could end up feeling a little bit unsupported if you really want to lean into the self-ignite. You get 60% attack speed, and that's certainly not nothing. You get 60% cast speed, and that's certainly not nothing. I think there's a lot of Chieftain builds that already used Salio that are going to be perfectly happy to give up a ring and a jewel slot to use this. But beyond that, right now, its synergy is somewhat limited. But I don't want this to come across as completely hopeless, because there was a time when Impale was also that limited. Then slowly over time we got more and more support for Impale until it became, well, the best way to play any Fizz build, and then it got nerfed, and now we're somewhere in the middle where it's pretty good but not perfect. Now, if you've been finding this video interesting, maybe you learned something today about Moku's Embrace or the mechanics of Path of Exile, then be sure to give it a like and share it with a friend. If you want to see more content on the Path of Exile spoiler season, get subscribed, as I'm going to be covering a video probably every time something releases, or at the very least every time there's something to talk about. On the other hand, if you play other games, maybe you want some game recommendations, like a really cool indie I found on Kickstarter, be sure to check out my second channel, 10 Gaming Thoughts, link will be in the card right now. And always in the description below. A special thanks to my patrons and YouTube channel members for the continued support. If you want to support the channel directly, more about how you can do so at the end of the video. For now though, I want to talk about one more thing. Something a little bit darker. That is, the new divination card that's been revealed. Something Dark is yet another heist-themed divination card, and I don't know that I should be surprised. After all, Chris mentioned that 3 mechanics are getting reworked, and it wouldn't surprise me in the least if heist was one of the 3. It's pretty new, but it also felt innately problematic because GGG envisioned it one way, and then ran into a lot of game limitations with how it was made and released, and changed it quite a lot from their original vision. Then that changed version persisted until today. There have been some small fixes here and there, but it definitely feels like a mechanic that could do with a really good once-over and a new coat of paint. So now that we've seen 2 heist-related divination cards, I'm quietly hoping that Heist is one of the reworked mechanics, and hopefully the rework to Heist will make it far more fun to people who don't currently enjoy it, while keeping it fun for the people who enjoy it exactly the way it is right now. In the case of Something Dark, it is a set of 5 cards that gives a fully revealed blueprint, with area level of 83, so an endgame one. Fully revealed blueprints are quite valuable. As to fully reveal, you need to farm up a bunch of reveals from Wakano, Gianna, or I think there's one other person, but I could be wrong, and pay a pretty penny worth of rogue markers. But now, if you like running blueprints and don't particularly like running contracts, it seems like there's going to be more alternatives, as more fully revealed blueprints are going to be on the market as a result of this div card. I would imagine it's something of moderate rarity, not common enough that you're going to be getting a bunch all the time, but not rare enough that you won't see it in solo self-found, or that it's going to be kind of a magic finder and stack deck only sort of affair. So overall, I'm pretty happy about the new Moku's Embrace. I think it's a very good direction for the item. It also happens to synergize pretty well with a Cloak of Flame that was already revealed, though I do expect that it will get a lot less use because it does feel more niche. However, it's perfectly okay for there to be unique items that are very niche but very powerful within their niche. That gives people a reason to use the items, but also doesn't mean that they crowd out all the other good items, including other good uniques in Path of Exile. And similarly, personally, as someone who likes Heist, I'm very glad that Something Dark exists, as I really don't mind the blueprint part, it's just running the contracts over and over that bother me. But hopefully this won't completely destroy the market for Heist stuff for the people who do enjoy running contracts and want it to still be profitable and at least feel worth their time. But of course, who knows? Maybe with Heist getting a fresh coat of paint, it will become my favorite mechanic and push out Expedition. And so, I only have one question. Do you think you'll play any builds with the new Moku's Embrace? And if so, what's it going to be? Will it be on a Chieftain for unaffected by Ignite? Will you maybe be using a boot mod, or do you plan to handle it via something else entirely? Let me know some of your thoughts down in the comments below. A special thanks to my patrons and YouTube channel members. Your support helps keep me independent and allows me to turn down things like sketchy mobile game sponsorships. You can do so for as low as $1 a month over on Patreon, or if you want to support me completely for free, then you can join the community by hopping into my Discord, link below. If you want more content, check out my second channel, 10 Gaming Thoughts. It's a place that I use to review games, ramble my way through video essays, and a lot more. Or of course, you can just click the suggested video in the card right now. I hope you learned something today, and maybe I'll see you again sometime soon.